My name is Marcus Ruiz Evans, founder of the CalExit movement and president of YesCalifornia.org, the largest independence movement in California. Well, recently California underwent some bad news. We lost a congressional seat for the first time in history, about 170 years. Ever since California was forced to become an American state, it's largely had a large growth in population every single year. In fact, the last couple of decades, when people were talking about the great California exodus, we still grew in population every single year. We had a lot of people leaving, but there were always more births and immigrants and American immigrants coming in. For the first time ever in California history, our growth streak has hit a plateau and it is over. We lost a congressional seat for the first time in history. We've only known growth. We've only known more people, only known more congressional people representing us. And for the first time ever in California history as a state, we lost a seat. Now, you may be thinking it's 53 representatives. You only lost one. You went down to 52. And you're right, not that big a loss. But the point is, this is the first time this has ever happened. This has never happened in over almost 200 years where California lost a seat and lost representation in the federal government. One of the things that we always talk about here at Yes California is you don't have fair representation already. California gets 2 senators compared to Wyoming's 2 senators when they were a fraction of our population. Additionally, because of the House of Representatives was capped somewhere around 445 people around 1970, California doesn't actually get its full representation of members. So the House of Representatives doesn't actually reflect the population of America. They artificially capped the amount of seats somewhere in the 1970s and then have a complex formula allowing allotment since then. Because of that, we're actually already underrepresented in the Senate from how much representation we should have. In the House of Representatives. And we are underrepresented in the Senate. And now the situation is going to be even worse. So California did not have fair representation in the House of Representatives, according to our size of the American population, because of the artificial cap in the 1970s. California did not have fair representation in the Senate because of the Constitution. And now we will be even less represented. Let's cover that a little bit. Now, one of the things that's important to note is that we predicted this here at Yes California 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we said, this is going to happen. We were ignored, but we were right. We continue to make predictions and people say, you guys are crazy. That's never going to happen. And then it turns out to be true. Like when we said California is a donor state and everybody said you're crazy. And then we had politicians saying that. Like when we said California could secede because of Texas versus White, the only Supreme Court decision on that, and everybody said you're crazy, and now they acknowledge that. Like California being a donor state, like California having a separate culture, like Californians actually being open to independence from America. We said all those things. We said them years before anybody else. Everybody said, you don't know what you're talking about. And then it turned out they were wrong. We were right. And now they carry our talking points. One of our best examples is Gavin Newsom. You know, when we got started in 2017, we were saying California is a nation state. Gavin Newsom laughed at us. He also rejected the idea of CalExit ever happening. Now who says nation state more than anyone else? Gavin Newsom. The exact opposite of his opinion years before, thanks to Yes California. So let's continue that trend. I want to show you some of the things that we predicted years ago so that you can see this. Now, in April 2021, we released the CalExit Blue Book 2.0. April 2021, maybe June, July. I'm sorry. In July 2017, in the CalExit 2.0 book, we predicted California will continue to be underrepresented in the House of Representatives. We also pointed out we should remember that California hasn't always had the largest congressional delegation. We said that 4 years ago. We were pointing that out, and now it has come to pass. As predicted here, April 2021, California has lost a congressional seat for the first time from the census count, as we predicted in July 2017. In this document, which I will show you in a second. Let's get to why California lost the population and what that says about the future of California as part of America. Now, a lot of the articles are saying we lost about 2.3 million people from the 2010 census, but largely around 2017, our population has remained flat. That is the key number to remember. 2017, the population remained flat from 2017. So we're growing. We hit 2017, it's a plateau. For some reason, our population stops at 2017 and doesn't really grow till 2021 over the last 4 years. 2017, key date to remember. I'm going to explain why here in a second from research we did here at Yes California just in the last half hour. So let's cover what some other people are talking about since California lost its census count for the first time ever. One of the things that we noticed was that California Republicans, and I'm an ex-Republican myself, I still believe in low taxes, low regulations. I just don't believe in bigotry of any kind or discrimination. That's why I left in 2012, way before Trump. The California Republican Party said, whoa, California lost its congressional seat because it's losing people. It's losing people because of the horrible business climate, homelessness, poverty, massive taxes, and gas tax. Well, that's not why. We'll get to that in a second. But I also want to point out, if California was independent, all those issues would go away. The fact is that we're a donor state. Because we're a donor state, we supply a lot of money to other states. Because of that, we have to raise taxes on ourselves to cover the taxes we're sending to other states. So we already give states a lot of extra money. We almost always lose. It's been that way since the 70s, basically about 40 years. Maybe during periods of recession, we might break even. But by and large, 90% of the time in the last 4 decades, we lose, we subsidize other states. Because of that, we don't have enough money here. And then we have to raise taxes on ourselves. So the gas tax is one of the best ones. The gas tax wasn't even going to raise the same amount of money that California lost that year that they passed the gas tax. Gas tax got passed around 2015, maybe 2017. The amount of money they were projecting to raise, we were losing each year. So I love the gas tax because it's a perfect example of how we lose being part of America with taxes. Republican Party, you're right. Taxes are too high here. They could be reduced if we were independent. Regulation is too high here. California files 2 separate regulatory forms for everything because we love regulation. So we have separate regulations for the federal government you have to file for and separate regulations for California you have to file for. Both. If we were independent, you'd lose half your regulation and we wouldn't be a donor state and wouldn't have to increase taxes on ourselves. So independence solves the problems that the Republicans are getting at. But I'm going to point out the Republicans are wrong on this one. That is not why California lost a congressional seat. We'll get to that in a second. Let's take a couple other look at some other things people are saying. Just to back that up, Florida and Texas, where business-friendly policies and low cost of living have fueled high growth. They grew in states, so in population. So you can see what's going on here. California, bad for business, taxes too much regulation, it lost people. Florida and Texas, low regulations, low taxes, they gained people. So obviously the conclusion is that we lost people due to our horrible business climate. Not true. We'll get to that in a second. But that's what people are saying. Now, here's the key part. Those losses that we lose in population, even though we have Americans leaving and going to other American states and leaving California, we typically are able to rebound from those losses with immigration. So those losses typically are offset by international immigration into the state, something that has slowed in recent years. International immigration to California has slowed in recent years. Remember the phrase, our population plateaued in 2017. Now, why would that be? What was going on around 2017 that would slow international immigration into California? Now, Republicans are saying we lost people because of our bad business and tax climate, but other people, demographers, people who study the issue, are saying actually California lost people because it lost the amount of international immigrants coming in. And that sort of plateaued or froze somewhere around 2017. So we had massive growth. 2017, we stopped growing, and we weren't able to get our traditional allotment of undocumented and documented immigrants. So what happened in 2017 so that we lost population and plateaued? Well, let's take a look. Trump signed an immigration order protecting Americans from terrorists and banning Muslims. Trump also began the practice in February 2018, right after 2017, of separating children from the border in a grossly aggressive manner. November 9th, 2018, Trump issued a proclamation suspending the right of asylum. In 2017, Trump kicked out immigrants, and in 2017, he kicked out immigrants even more. Let's take a little bit of a closer look. I'm going to share a screen here. This is the blue book that we were showing you. You want to make sure it's shown. So this Cal-Exit Blue Book came out in 2017, 2.0. And let me zoom in here. Here's where we said California will continue to be underrepresented in the House of Representatives. On page 3, additionally, we documented more in-depth discussion about this prediction here, page 10, where we were talking about how don't assume that California is always going to have the congressional representatives that it wants. We are already underrepresented, and we will lose representation in the future. We predicted that 4 years ago in this book right here, the Yes California Cal-Exit Blue Book. Now, here's the article, California losing congressional seats for the first time from the census count. I would encourage everybody to look up the immigration policy of Donald Trump. Now, while he was talking things that he wanted to do in 2015, he really ramped up in 2017, early 2018. Fear spreads amongst undocumented immigrants in 2017, the beginning of 2017. Here's another one. Fear spreads amongst immigrants. Now, where do most undocumented immigrants live in the United States? In 2017, the overwhelming majority are here in California. Yes, there are some in Texas, but most are here in California. Where do most legal immigrants in America live? Well, look, California, about 10 million. Go to Texas, it's about 4 million. And yes, to be clear, undocumented immigrants were included in the census count. So, 2017, Donald Trump ramps up. We're kicking out immigrants. We're building the wall. We're banning Muslims. We don't like Mexicans. Let's get rid of all these people. Let's have massive arrests and raids and a lot of hate talk. That terrified undocumented immigrants and terrified immigrants. That's a fact. Well documented. People were scared. These policies happened in 2017. We know for a fact that our population plateaued in 2017, around the same time as these horrible Trump policies. So they kept the census going. They counted it. We have the most undocumented. We have the most documented immigrants. We're crawling with immigrants. And America elects a president in 2016. Yes, he was chosen by the American people, although he did not win the Electoral College vote. Although he did win the Electoral College vote in 2016, he did not win the popular vote, but Trump almost got about 50% of the population, and he won the presidency. So basically, America chose Trump. And as we like to say here at Yes Cal, in 2016, if you pull California out, Trump won the popular vote. So Hillary Clinton only won the popular vote in 2016 because of the California votes, which means without the California votes, outside of your California, a majority of the people of America elected Donald Trump in 2016. And they supported him for years. So America picked a racist. This guy ran on saying Mexicans are rapists and all sorts of horrible things, said it throughout 2015, 2016, really enacted it 2017. Well, guess what happened? Undocumented immigrants were terrified from coming to California. Immigrants were terrified from coming to California. Who has the most undocumented and legal immigrants? California. So who gets worst in the census count? California. So America picked a racist, America backed racism, and we know that because the guy said Mexicans are rapists when he was running for office, and he still won a majority of the American people outside of California. And then he did racist things. It scared away a population base for us, and now we've lost. So you're part of a country that will support a racist. Remember, Joe Biden only won half of America in 2016. 20 by 1%, which means you pull California out, the guy barely won half of America by less than 2.02%. So that's basically half of America saying they like Trump in 2016 and 2020. They supported his racist policies. We were the most hit of any place in America because we were the most dependent on immigration. And America picked a man who hates immigrants and let him run wild for years. So we lost power in the federal government because America chose Trump, because America likes racism outside of California. And now we lost population, and now we even lost even more representation in Congress when we do not have our fair amount of representation because of the 1970 arbitration cap and the census. So it's lose, lose, lose. Let's take a few comments here. You missed nothing. I covered the whole thing. We are talking about how America is supporting of racism, and therefore we in California will lose power. That's the title. I think I proved that point. We'll provide citations. And of course, check us out here at Yes California, where we are dedicated to proving that America is no longer working and continuing the most important conversation that 40 million people here need to have. What happens if we have to go it alone? Thank you.